Let's dive deep into the mysteries of Uranus in this thought-provoking exploration of shadow work, esoteric mysticism, mythology, and astrotheology. We unravel the erratic qualities of Uranus and its profound influence on our spiritual journey. In Greek mythology, Uranus is the god of the sky, so he is the father. Gaia is Mother Earth, and in mythology, Gaia is also Uranus's mother, but also his wife or mate. Together, Gaia and Uranus rule the heaven and earth, or spirit and matter, not just on an external level, but also within us. Our physical body is made of matter corresponding to earth. So us as human beings inhabit a body while living on Gaia, on the earth plane. Uranus rules the mental realm, which is the non-physical and spiritual realms. And Uranus rules the higher mind or higher consciousness. Uranus's ultimate goal is to achieve inner alchemy through spiritual transformation. So before I continue, let me introduce myself. Welcome to Starwell Astrology. My name is Shari. I am a Western tropical astrologer and I specialize in shadow work. I like to make the connections with shadow work and esoteric mysticism, mythology, and astrotheology to gain a deeper understanding of our reality by exploring the potentials of, or the highest potentials of each planet in astrology. So first, a few facts about Uranus. Uranus is the first outer planet that is invisible to the naked eye. Uranus is tilted on its axis at a 97.9-degree angle. So its rotation is like a rolling barrel. His rotation says a lot about his archetype. He's untraditional, unusual, unpredictable, and radical. Uranus brings traumatic events and sudden surprises and changes that can be both exciting but also shocking. He's the archetype of the visionary and the revolutionary activist. So he is very focused on social justice. The glyph of Uranus is comprised of the sun, the crescent moon, two of them facing away from each other, and the cross of matter. Uranus's glyph has a symbol of the sun, which has a circle with a dot to symbolize the nucleus of the atom from which all of life begins. But also the dot in the center of the circle is representing spirit and consciousness. The space in the circle is the soul, and the parameters of the circle indicate the body or the boundaries in which we experience our reality. The sun is masculine, electric energy, which gets creatively expressed through the mind. And the moon is the polar opposite of the sun. The moon represents the feminine, magnetic, receptive energy that influences us through the vibrational frequencies of our emotions and desires. The moon also represents the soul and our emotional, unconscious, and subconscious memories. So the sun is our creative expression as conscious beings of light, and the moon receives and filters our perceived reality through our emotional desires. The cross of matter, which represents time and space, but also the four elements, earth, fire, water, and air, makes up our physical world. And the cross is enclosed by the symbol, or encircled by the symbol of the sun and the moon. In shadow work, this indicates that we must ascend the cross of matter to awaken our Christ consciousness or spiritual nature. The soul or luminary bodies can intuitively receive the guidance of spirit if we work through Uranus, the awakener, who activates the desire to heal and ascend through spiritual alchemy. Uranus can escalate events that can be traumatizing, but also activating us to awaken to our higher consciousness. The ultimate goal of Uranus is to awaken us. And oftentimes Uranus will bring shocking, electrifying, or intense events. It does this with the purpose to raise our level of consciousness, to gain freedom from our limited programmed beliefs, especially our identifications we feel to our body and mind on a physical level. Uranus wants us to awaken at a soul level through higher realizations to know who we are as Christ consciousness. Uranus wants to liberate the soul, so he may cause a massive quantum shift on a psychological, emotional, and spiritual level. But equally, he can cause a psychotic break. If one is not ready to stay open to receive his electrifying jolt, this can deliver a powerful voltage to the nervous system in the body. So the body must be ready and the mind must be ready for this intense shakeup. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And since we're heading into the age of Aquarius, it makes Uranus's influence very special and significant to us on a personal and collective level. So in astrology, it is especially important that we pay attention to what Uranus is influencing in our natal chart and also by transit. Please see my previous video on Uranus in Gemini for more information. Uranus rules breakthroughs, but also breakdowns and even breakups. Uranus wants to break us out of our mental imprisonment, to set us free from our comatose state of sleepwalking through our lives and living like sheeples. Uranus wants us to be liberated from the herd mentality, and this might bring events that shake us up out of our comfort zones. Uranus is called the Great Awakener because he awakens us from our sleep state through some sort of intense jolt that will electrify our minds. We wake up from unconsciously living in the shadows of our programmed ego identity, and we suddenly shift to higher realizations and deeper understandings where there is an intense urge for liberation. When under the higher influences of Uranus, the impulse and drive is to liberate ourselves from the mental programming and align in our soul authentically as we shift to higher awareness. So one might experience an unstoppable urge that will shake up our lives. Uranus wants us to break out of our automatic programming, and this will release us from the bondage of the lower conditioned mind so that we can tap into our highest potentials. Uranus disrupts the programmed mind and jolts us with shocking situations that motivate us into action. We receive sudden and quick flashes of insights, downloads, and the inspiration and urge to take action, to individuate. Old patterns get shattered and repetitive cycles are seen. So we no longer are blindly following, and we might suddenly want to ask deeper questions. Uranus disrupts our programmed thoughts that have kept us stuck in operating in an unconscious repetitive loop. However, because this can be so sudden, it can leave us feeling like the rug has been pulled from under our feet. And so we might feel unstable and unbalanced. So it might take a while to adjust to the finding our balance and catching ourselves up with the new shift in our higher level of awareness. Uranus rules the higher mind and therefore our right brain. And the right brain is the creative, intuitive, silent mind that has a direct connection to spirit within. Uranus is the god of the heavens, but this heaven is within us and it's located in our brain. So it is within ourselves that we get access to who we are at our source level. And then we can have divine connections to God. Our right brain is linked to the higher consciousness. The pituitary gland and the pineal gland are located in the middle brain, and they get stimulated and charged to cause a spiritual activation that opens up channels to higher dimensions, such as the heaven within us. So our right brain gets activated to receive downloads where we receive wisdom and knowledge. We no longer need to believe because we now know. Uranus rules knowing because it rules our pure intelligence that gives us access to all possibilities and all potentials. Uranus, Aquarius, and the 11th house rules quantum entanglements, quantum leaps, cosmic understandings, future timelines, parallel timelines, quantum manifestations, collective energy or the masses, but also independence, our soul group, like-minded people, or our tribe, friends, and our social circle, virtual reality or all things virtual, outer space, AI, the metaverse, ascension activations, metaphysical pursuits, esoteric knowledge, unique or unusual ideas, all big systems without a center or a leader, such as the internet. We can get access to new or unique trends to gain our independence. We're discovering new ways, such as how to do Airbnbs with our own property or use our car to do Uber driving. These are just a few examples of what's to come. Aquarius, Uranus in the 11th house rules radical thinking, the nervous system, lightning bolts and jolts, flashes of inspiration, fresh ideas, and creativity. This can bring alternative views to shift our dynamics to reality. Uranus also rules logic and science and can be a visionary who is inventive and therefore ingenious for being able to think outside of the box. Uranus can give us more abstract ways of thinking, more objectively. And this is essential for having a new outlook. When we have a shift in consciousness, we suddenly have a higher and more objective view. And Uranus rules objectivity and detachment. The paradigm shift might be difficult to process since it is quick and intense, and Uranus strikes with precision, but not necessarily with clarity, because there is a harsh contrast from which we must shake ourselves loose from a huge shift that might require time to process and integrate. Uranus and Aquarius in the 11th house rules our dreams, accolades, and long-term goals. Uranus ultimately wants to enlighten the soul through a cosmic shift in our consciousness, and our perspectives will broaden to become more authentically aligned in truth. Briefly, let's look at truth, since Uranus and Aquarius rules truth. Truth is an Aquarian quality that has many levels, but I would like to speak of, from my perspective, the 3 levels of truth. Truth is a very common term that has been used of lately, but I want to try to distinguish the difference in the 3 levels of truth. Truth that is expressed from a personal point of view is what I call my truth. However, my truth is but a half-truth. The term my truth is personal because what might be true for one person might not be true for another. We each have a personal and individual perspective of our reality, and what might seem to be absolutely true for you might not be true for another. For example, some believe that the measure of a person and the respect they deserve should be based on how successful they are. They might be judged by their financial situation, their status, their title, or their education. So they are seen as moral and wise from the perspective of their programmed beliefs. However, someone else might say that a person should be measured for their spiritual principles and not what they have attained. And this perspective is also based on their conditioned beliefs. But these are simply half truths, meaning that it's a personal truth and even a mistruth, since this belief is not true for everyone. However, based on our conditioned beliefs, we will stand by our opinions, which are half truths, and will even take up arms to defend what we believe. All you have to do is look at the political climate that is currently taking place here in America. Need I say more? So my truth is a very superficial layer of truth that unfortunately most of us abide by and will make life-defining choices based on a very limited perspective. So if we're aware enough, say we're doing shadow work and we're becoming more observant and aware and witnessing ourselves, then there might be enough space to realize that what is deemed to be my truth is a personal belief, and that what we feel identified with as a way to define ourselves on a personal level is very individual. Awakening, which is the Uranus and Aquarius archetype, gives us access to this next layer of truth. It is the objective truth. Objective truths, although more inclusive of all ideas and opinions, are still limited personal perspectives. But when one becomes awakened and aware of the impulse to define oneself based on what they are programmed to believe, their view will become more objective. We have a wider scope to recognize that each of us have a unique take of life, and we now know that we can respect that although we might not agree, there's enough room for our differences. And from this broader, more detached and objective perspective, we also recognize that whatever position we might take, it is not absolutely true for everyone and in every case. Although we might identify with a position, an opinion, a viewpoint, or even a belief, we now know that viewpoints are personal and therefore cannot include everyone. Life requires that we take action, and in order to actively participate in our lives, we must hold a perspective that is uniquely our own. But with enough awareness, though, we can stay open and surrender to all possible perspectives. So, subjective and objective perspectives are not absolutely true for everyone. They are half truths. Once our reasoning faculties engage the mind to formulate and analyze information, our programming will automatically be applied. At best, if aware, we may have a more objective point of view, but our ability to perceive all things from an impartial angle will fail at some point, since we can only experience our piece of the pie from a personal optical illusion. All of reality are mental projections, since the all is mind and the universe is mental. So our projections are fluid and therefore constantly attracting, reflecting, associating, and crystallizing itself through our personal thoughts, feelings, and emotional desires. All of reality is meant to be lived from a state of staying open and surrendered to what is here and now. Consequently, we are re-experiencing ourselves in our reflections that appear outside of us. Reality requires that we experience it physically. The world of form seems separate and outside of us, but this holographic simulation is really a reflection of oneself that seems to exist apart from us. In recognizing this, we can see ourselves in others being reflected back to us. Others are a part of our reflections because all experiences must come from us. In realizing this, we see ourselves in others being reflected back to us. Others are a part of our reflections because all experiences must come from us. To explain this further would be another video, but for now, Uranus wants us to be authentic, and to do this by seeing ourselves from an objective perspective, and this allows us to know higher truths. Now, the third level is the transcendental truth. This is an all-encompassing truth, and I got this definition from Wikipedia. Now, this is transcendental truth with a capital T. Transcendental truths are those truths unaffected by time and space. They define the world, but they are not defined by the world. The transcendental truth is the only truth that is ultimately beyond human comprehension and before all concepts. It is beyond reality, and it is the creator of realities, existence, time, and all there is, was, and is yet to be. It is the light that sacred texts speak of that illuminates hearts with knowledge from a source beyond our universe. It is actually the true definition of God. When we can discern these layers of truth, we are able to make more authentic choices. Aquarius in Latin means water bearer or cup bearer. It is also an astronomical symbol that is representative of water. The symbols, although said to be representative of the waves of water, in astrology, the glyph really represents electrical current of the air sign, because Aquarius is an air sign and it is very electrifying. Luke 22:10 says, as you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters. The constellation of Aquarius depicts a man pouring water from a vessel from heaven down on us here on earth. And this could be interpreted to mean the pouring down of wisdom and knowledge during this new age or new period or new era called the Age of Aquarius. In my previous video, I talked about Neptune and Pisces and how Pisces rules this era that we're currently ending. And in astrotheology, this is related to Jesus, the savior of our soul, who was a fisherman or fisher of men. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. And Pisces, the glyph, is the two fish swimming in opposing directions, demonstrating our polarizing reality of spirit and matter, heaven and earth. In astrology, Jesus is considered the great benefic who brings blessings, and which also is the archetype of Jesus. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, and the highest octave of Neptune represents surrendering, unconditional love, and forgiveness, which is also the message of Jesus. But Jesus also demonstrated ascension as his main message for us to have a spiritual journey while here on earth. He demonstrated that we must die to our lower conditioned ego in order to ascend and sit on our inner throne. So by the way, Virgo is the sign that is opposite of Pisces. And Virgo is ruled by the archetype of the feminine energy, depicted as the Virgin or Virgin Mary. And in the Bible story, Virgin Mary gave birth to Jesus through Immaculate Conception. So at this time, we're in the transitional phase that will happen over several decades, maybe even centuries, before the shift of the age to Aquarius is fully activated. However, we are on the cusp, and therefore we are beginning to awaken to a higher level of consciousness than what we could previously perceive. As we shift into the age of Aquarius, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. So there might be a possibility of a split in our societal views. Some will prefer the hierarchical government system, which we now currently have, and will feel that those ranked in higher positions should continue to lead. And some will feel safer having those traditional laws and rules enforced by a governing body at the top of the pyramid. They'll prefer to follow rather than lead. But with the new Uranian influence in the age of Aquarius, there will be a mass awakening where most of us are going to be ready to know our inner sovereignty and claim our power based on this as our birthright. Those who awaken will want to break free from the confines and control of the system. The desire to form a utopian society will grow with the idea of a roundtable setting. This might even include galactic influences and communication with other beings in our solar system that might help us to accomplish this as a new model for our future way of living. The era of Jesus and his divine message of ascension is to be realized through a mass awakening and inner alchemy for those souls who are ready to heal so that they can ascend. The shadow work can assist with this emotional healing process to release old karma. But these activations will likely happen through traumatic events to inspire a healing crisis. Since we must die to our shadow aspects of ourselves to be rebirthed in higher consciousness, this is likely to happen more often. Of course, this transition could bring massive destructions as per Uranus ruling trauma and catastrophic events. In Revelations, the final chapter in the Bible, it portrays these events as literal, and where it is meant to bring a critical catalyst for a radical shift to happen on a mass level. And we call this end of days, but it's really the ending of the age. And before this higher order takes place, there's likely to be a lot of chaos. And this is meant to show us that this is a shakeup for the transition to happen. Unfortunately, most of us need shakeups in order for us to change. However, Revelations, when understood from the perspective of astrotheology, represents the ascension process. For example, the seven churches, the seven candles, and the seven candlesticks, as well as the seven seals, are the seven chakras, as well as the seven visible planets. The four horsemen are the four elements that rules the four seasons. And 144 is an important symbol in Revelations in regards to spiritual alchemy. This is the 144 petals of the brow chakra or pituitary gland, and 1,000 petals of the crown chakra and the pineal gland. When multiplied and amplified, 144 times 1,000, it equals 144,000, showing the alchemical wedding of the feminine magnetic lunar pituitary gland unified with the masculine electric solar pineal gland. And when magnified, they create an illumination for the inner ascension process. This is a physiological activation of Christ consciousness that will enhance our cosmic intelligence. The sixth sense of intuition and the seventh sense of inner knowing will get activated. And this means we become more clairvoyant and telepathic in our communications with each other. This will also be essential for communicating with our galactic neighbors in our solar system. Contact with alien beings might sound far-fetched, but if you're as old as I am, you might remember that before there was the internet and cell phones, if this had been described to us, it would have sounded really strange. Similarly, this rapid shift in technology and AI, as well as our interactions with virtual reality and the metaverse and the multiverse, is about to take a quantum leap into the future. So buckle up. Soon, what I'm saying will be perfectly normal in the not so distant future. So welcome to the Age of Aquarius. Thank you for taking the time to join me on this video, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing and liking my video. It really does help my channel to grow. Also, I want to mention that I do offer natal chart readings and I do offer shadow work readings also. So thank you for joining me and hope to see you next time.